You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Johannes Ekström of Avatar. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers.
Do you hear this?
If you... Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the ToneMob.com podcast, the show about guitar tone and people behind it. And I have, again, a returning guest, Mr.
Woo-hoo.
Paul Rhoney of Rhoney Guitars.
Yeah. Hey, Blake, how you doing, man?
It's been really hot today for me.
So
it's probably
Portland, that means
normal
it's
weather.
Been 70.
Exactly. I'm like sweating.
Yeah.
Like, geez. Like I'm like shorts like year round because I'm normally wearing coveralls and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so I always wear shorts. And yeah, it's just hot. If it gets above 66, I'm like, dadgum.
Oh, geez.
Like,
66 is like perfect.
That 66 is about perfect, but if it gets above that, I'm sweating.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm very warm-blooded, I guess.
Hang. Yeah. You and me
I can't
both,
hang.
man. I miss Portland because I really like that colder weather. It's actually, California is hard to beat because it's kind of like just really nice all year round here. But there is a spell in the summer where it will get, we get hot spells where it's over 100 and it's like, I don't function. I mean, I turn into just total wreck. It's bad.
Yeah. I drip. I stand outside and all the water vacates my pores.
Yeah. And it's like
blah.
painful. There's like so much sweat coming out of your every pore. It's like stretching the pore out. That's how I feel.
Yes.
It's like, why am I itchy? Oh yeah, my pores are being stretched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't help that I'm like wearing these fire retardant coveralls and a plastic bucket on my head.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not good times.
Daily.
Not good times.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was complaining about this to Ryan McCaffrey one time, and he's like, I don't want to hear any of it because he's an ex-firefighter. Yeah. So he's like, please.
Yeah.
Like, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, well,
let me tell you about heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever see a movie called Backdraft? Super scientifically accurate, and that's my life. So, yeah. So, let's get to talking about what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, man.
Which is the reason you are returning is you got something really radical happening in the Rhoney world. So why don't you tell everybody about it? And if people don't know who Paul is and they're all confused about this, go back and listen to the episode he was on. I don't remember which one it was, but it's on the list. You'll see his name.
And just to shamelessly self-plug myself, RhoneyGuitars.com, RHONEY. And
You're supposed to save that for the end, Paul. You're not on your podcast, which would be the Luthierist podcast, where they do all the plugging at the beginning. You plug at the end.
Oh God, we plug like way too much on that show. All right, we do. It's true.
No, it's fine.
No, okay. So getting on. So I don't know if you remember, because when I first told you that I was going to be releasing a new model, and that it was going to be a lower priced model, it was actually your idea to interview me, like have me come back on your show to. So I'm not. I guess so. This is your idea. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I'm riddled with those brilliant ideas.
Yeah. But thank you. Actually, that's why I bring it up, because I wanted to say thanks for giving me this chance to use my own voice to let everybody know what the new model is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you just dig right into it? No problem at all. Glad to have you back. So
cool. Well, thank you.
Tear it up.
All right. So it's a new model. So what I decided that I wanted to do was develop a new model guitar that was started at a lower base price. Okay. So this kind of came about because Doug Cower and I were both talking about different ways that we could do it, and things kind of fell in place to make it happen. So like for the last 5-6 years of my career, my guitars aren't cheap. I know that, it's just the way it goes, but I put a lot into them, and it's about 6 to 12 months for me to make a single guitar. And that's, of course, I'm making 25 guitars at a time. So if I was just doing one, that might be a different story, but making 25 guitars at a time, it takes like 6 to 12 months for any one of those guitars. But fully, like, a third of that time frame was always spent on the finishing process. So, and this is true for me and Doug. It was like, we do the woodworking on the guitar, do some nice binding and buy all the parts, and it's like all this stuff, and then it was like this funnel effect as all these guitars were coming down the pipeline, getting done, to the paint booth. And it was like, okay, we have 15 spaces on our racks to finish all these guitars, and every single one of those 15 spaces is filled and we have more guitars waiting to be painted because there's just the process of painting the guitars took so long. It's just slow. It's a slow process. When I went through every finishing product and process that there is. I did nitro for a long time. I did urethane for a long time. I experimented with some polyesters. I've even checked out some oil finishes. I've done all this stuff. And it was like, none of these things are like, there's just these finishes. It's like the product was not up to the ability of the people doing the work. Our finishing expertise was beyond, like, these products weren't keeping up with what we knew we could do. So then this deal came along for me to get sort of secondhand used, get a UV cure lamp. And one of the paint companies that we work with offered to send us some free samples of some UV cure polyester finishing products. Clear coat and sealer and stuff like that. And it was like night or day difference. It's just immediate results, immediate, like these products are performing the way that we were demanding our finishing products to perform. And the end result was better. Like an ultra thin finish that is easy to work with and just looks better. Like the finished, like the buff, like the gloss on it, it's like just flatter and just shinier. It's like the depth to the finish is way beyond anything else we've ever done before. And aside from those great things, it's also environmentally friendly. Throw that out there. Always a good thing.
Yes.
But then aside from all of those things is that it cut down on time spent finishing by probably something like 500%.
Wow.
I mean, and it's like, that probably sounds like an exaggeration, but you're talking about any one guitar used to take about 2 months going through the finishing process. Now it's more like 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the traditional techniques took that long.
Absolutely. I mean, again, when you're making 25 guitars at a time, if I was doing a nitro finish on just one guitar and that was literally the only thing I had to do with my time, come work, 8-hour day, 5 days a week, and all I have to do is paint one guitar, that might be a different story. But even then, after you paint that guitar, you've still got to wait like a month for that finish to fully cure. It depends on the lacquer, or urethane or whatever, but you've got to wait before you can then go buff it. The UV cure stuff, we can put down our final coat of clear, flash it with the lamp, and then I can go buff it that same day. immediately, and it's a fully cured finish.
Wow.
So this was kind of like the last thing that fell into place for us here at our shops. It was like we realized we were at this sort of tipping point of like, we could do all this woodworking, we can do all that stuff fast. We've got all these tools and fantastic techniques down to make these killer guitars. And now we can paint them fast too. And the results are better than anything else we've ever done before. So now it was like, well, we're spending so much less time like sunk into the finishes of these guitars that it's faster to make the guitar now. It's quicker. So then it kind of begged the question, like, well, okay, so can we come out with less expensive guitars? You know, can we start making some guitars that we make them faster, and so we don't have to charge as much money for them? And we kind of came to the conclusion and came to some ideas for how to do that. And that's kind of what my new model is. And, you know, Doug's got a new model himself that's coming out at NAMM next year. But yeah, mine is a guitar that I completely designed from scratch, totally from the ground up, as a new model, as a new, like, how can I just make the bare bones of what an electric guitar absolutely has to be, and it still looks amazing, it still feels and plays amazing, it has all the hallmarks of one of my guitars, but it's only $2,500 instead of $3,500 or more. You know, and that's what I did. That's what I came up with, and it's got a silly name, but it's a serious guitar.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's the long and short of it. I mean, I can go into all kinds of details about the build itself, you know, but and people can see all this stuff on my website. But I came up with a lot of really cool stuff that I'm really proud of. It's kind of become one of our favorite things around the shop. And every new one that gets done is just like, okay, that's the coolest thing around right now, until the next one is done. And then that's the coolest thing around. And I mean, I couldn't be happier. And I mean, as we record this, officially the launch date is tomorrow.
Right.
Which, I don't know when you're putting this up, but it'll already be out. I mean, unless you throw this up tonight, but it'll already be out by the time people hear this. But the funny thing is, PremierGuitar.com leaked my press release one day early, so it's out.
Oh.
I mean, it's up and it's on the website. And I mean, my phone's in Do Not Disturb mode, but I could be getting orders right now. I wouldn't even know it.
You wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Let's hope that that's the case. Let's hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope it does well. You know, I like it a lot. I'm really proud of it. It's a cool design. It's kind of my first sort of single cut, non-offset thing. Yeah, man, super stoked.
That's really exciting. Well, I guess, you know, we've talked about it so much, but you should tell everybody what it's called so they know what you're referring to.
Oh yeah, it's the little stinker.
Yes. When I seen that, I was like, that's an interesting choice. I didn't see that coming, because all your other ones kind of have, like, I don't know, like sort of like serious, sophisticated names.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They really do.
I'm like the Oceana and the Oceana Imperial and the Oceana Marquis and the Little Stinker.
Yeah, the Little Stinker. Yeah. It was honestly
funny.
I didn't know what I was going to call the guitar. And then we just joked that she just said, I know you should call it the Little Stinker. It was like, okay, like, that's hilarious. And then just kind of nicknamed it that, because it was like, I don't know what else to call it right now. You know, I literally just don't have any other name. So it was kind of, when I was drafting up all the files and stuff, it was like, I need a placeholder. Okay, well, Little Stinker. And it stuck. It just really stuck. And everybody around the shop it's funny because it's this ridiculous name. And then, It doesn't say the name of the guitar anywhere on the guitar, so if people are worried about like, I don't want a guitar that says Lil Stinker on it. It's like it doesn't actually say that. I don't write the name of the guitar everywhere. It's got my name.
Well, you don't do that with
Rhoney.
any of them.
No, my guitars are sort of unmarked other than the headstock logo. And then the serial number is just LS. So, I mean, anybody could pretend like that stands for anything they want, but
but we know.
Yeah. Yeah, I kicked around a few other names. I wanted to call it, for some reason I was feeling the letter M, and I was like Maven, I just...
Magician?
Sure, that sounds good.
The Rhoney Magician? Yeah. It's not bad. That's all right.
It's okay. I think I could deal with that, But yeah, I mean, it came down to the wire. I finally decided I was releasing this thing, and I still didn't have any other name, so it stuck. And so it's the Lil Stinker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like we talked about it a while ago, but it seems like you're dropping it sooner than we expected. Like when we first talked about it.
Yeah, I did. I am. So I had this kind of elaborate plan to do the release with, like, I wanted to build like 5 of them and then take a group photo of them all together. And I wanted to get a couple out to artists that I love and get them playing them, and get some live shots and everything. But honestly, it was just taking too long. It was just getting to the point where I'm sitting here building these things. I've got 3 of them finished. I've got 2 more that are almost done. They're in the paint process, which we know doesn't take long. It's like, it's just taking so long, and I just wanted to get this thing out there. I wanted to start hearing some reaction to it. I wanted to find out what people thought and kind of gauge what other directions I might want to go with it. I mean, I've got a lot of my own ideas of new variations that I want to bring out. So, like, the situation I'm in now is the Lil Stinker is $2,500. And there's a few different ways you can purchase it. You can either purchase it full price up front, and then it's delivery within 30 days. Or I have it sort of divided up into, like, where you can just do a half and half payment thing, or a quarter payment schedule thing, so it's either, that'll be either like 2 months or 3 months for delivery on it. If you just can't swing the full $2,500 at once and you want to pay it off over time, so I got that going. But right now it's the Lil Stinker is $2,500, and then the next cheapest guitar that I make is the Oceana Junior, and that's $3,600. So it's kind of this big gap, it's a huge price jump, and I that's just the way it is. And if there was more, there is more that I can do about that, and that's what I'm working on. So it's kind of over the course of the next year is going to be thinking of, and I've already got a lot of these ideas in my head. It's just a matter of executing them and kind of planning out when to release them and stuff. But thinking of different ways that I can make, like, deluxe versions of the Lil Stinker that are a little bit more money, but still kind of close to that, $2,500 range. And then thinking of how I can take some of my more expensive models and do some of the things that I'm doing with the Lil Stinker and kind of adapt it to those models, like, one of the things that I want to do is the Vireo, which has always been my sort of a Telecaster style guitar. It's a sort of offset telly looking thing. I want to kind of reintroduce the Vireo with the feature set of the Lil Stinker, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So then you really get, like, it's kind of a very similar guitar, but then it's cool because I can offer the Vireo at that lower price.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. That'll be an interesting concept, because I could see that doing pretty well, because everyone loves a telly-based guitar, so.
Yeah. I think initially I'm going to do one that's kind of a Les Paul Telly hybrid. Like, it'll be the perfect Telly for somebody who has only ever played Les Pauls their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'll have kind of a Gibson-ish, it'll have kind of a Gibson neck on it, but it'll be a Vireo. It'll have a, Telly bridge on it and stuff like that. So stuff like that. And I have all these guitar designs. Like, I've kind of gotten to the point where I design guitars in my sleep, and I have all these ideas and body shapes that I've come up with over the years that I haven't even released. And some of them I've shown off a little bit, but I haven't ever actually made it or whatever. And so this is kind of this cool new platform that I have for rapid production. And I can come out with new shapes more often. I can say, hey, I want to do something that's a nod to an Explorer, but it's my own thing, but it's, it's kind of this wacky, pointy guitar thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I can sort of slap a little stinker neck on it, kind of use the basis that the little stinker is, and do a whole new guitar and do it as a limited edition thing, or if it's popular, make it a regular part of the lineup. We'll see how it goes. I don't know what the reaction to the little stinker is going to be, but I'm just excited to find out. So yeah, I thought let's just get this thing out there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just you've got a platform now that you can kind of play with. Sort of, I would make it the analogy of pedals are kind of an established platform. That's why guys can they can crank a prototype out. If they're making their take on a fuzz face, they can bust that out in a couple hours.
Totally.
Because the the nuts and bolts of it are kind of there already.
Yeah.
So I would kind of say that you might have some. That's probably not a great analogy, but it's how I'm envisioning it in my head.
It's fair, though. It's fair. It is. It's a whole new platform. So if the little stinker is my fuzz face, then maybe, maybe down the road I want to introduce my, my Earthquaker version of the little stinker. You know what I mean? And so it's
right.
So it's modified, and now it's got a bias knob on it. I don't know, but it's that whole. It's definitely a new platform. So the little stinker has this 2-bolt neck joint that I came up with that is sort of trapezoidal. It's kind of got this beveled heel that fits into a beveled pocket that kind of sucks the thing in and kind of centers it. And it's all with these sort of really beefy machine screws and washers, and it's also kind of scooped away on the treble side, so the upper fret access is really nice. There's that, and the whole the fret inlays are these sort of half circle thumbnail things that are visible from the front and the side, which sort of saves me a whole step in production, because I don't have to do those as 2 separate operations. I do it as 1 operation, and you can see where your fingers are on the fretboard, and so can your bandmates, it's I'm doing alder body, alder neck, and it's this thin body that I really like a lot. On the little stinker, everything is mounted to the pickguard, and I have the ground wire that attaches to the bridge on a quick connect. So what you can do, if you want, and this is an option that I'm exploring, that I'm going to try to have up on the website, available for people, is say you wanted to order a little stinker, but you couldn't really decide what kind of pickups you wanted in it. And maybe you don't want to commit to one sound. What you can do is order a second loaded pick guard with your pickups, and it comes with it's got all the pots and knobs and everything. It's all loaded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way the body is designed, you don't even have to take you don't even have to take the strings off your guitar. You should loosen them probably, but you don't have to take them off completely. But you can just pull the screws out off the pick guard and just lift the whole thing out as one sort of piece, right?
Nice.
You disconnect that little quick connect. It's just a spade connector. It's real simple.
Mm-hmm.
Reconnect your new loaded pick guard onto the spade connector, and then slip it right in, and screw it back down, and you just swapped out your pickups, and it took you like less than 10 minutes.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that would be a fun option, I think, for people. That's really neat.
So it's a cool thing, and that's a feature that the little stinker has because everything's mounted to the pickguard. Some of the other models might not necessarily have the same sort of modular interchangeability, but yeah, you could totally order a little stinker in whatever color you want, whatever color pickguard you want, which is another really cool thing, is you can choose your pickguard color, and just order a second loaded pickguard and swap it out.
There you go.
At will. It's fun.
Why does Will have to be involved? Why can't somebody else do it?
Yeah.
So if your name's Will, you can swap your pickguard out. Other guys, not too bad. You don't get to do that.
Yeah, it's a Will exclusive. Yeah.
Or wait, you said at Will, so you have to be at his house when you do it. That's the deal.
At Will's place. Yeah.
Okay.
What's up, Will?
Will's gonna get really sick of everyone coming over to swap their pickups.
Yeah. Oh, that Will.
Poor Will. Come swap your pickups at Will's.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were just picturing. I was picturing while you were talking. This, and this is not something I've ever done, but you've done it obviously a lot. But changing and installing electronics in hollow or semi-hollow body guitars that have no back access. It just seems like an absolute nightmare.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. I'm
trying to envision how you even
anybody.
But you do it all the time.
I do it on my Oceana Marquis, is my large body, hollow body thing, and that does not have access panels on the back, and so that just has to be fed in, and that's one of those situations where quick connects really come in handy. There are quick connects that you can get that are, multi-conductor, so you can have like your pickups where they're all on quick connects, so then you basically just feed the pots and your switch and everything in, have that all in place. And then you just have these loose wires with jacks on them that you feed up through one of the pickup holes. You quick connect your pickup onto it and then just push it back down inside,
Oh, I
rather
gotcha.
than trying to kind of like weave everything around where the pickup cavities are and all this other stuff. So
what a nightmare. Does it's
really
Oceana,
impractical.
Yeah.
Very impractical.
But it's so nice to see the nice back. With
it
no
is,
thing
yeah,
on it.
and that's one of those things. Like I do it on the Marquis, and I do it by special request on pretty much anything else that anybody might possibly want. But otherwise, it gets a back access panel because, it's a functional instrument. It's not. They're pretty, and we like our guitars to be kind of like these, like art pieces and stuff. But like, it's got to be functional. It's got to work. You got to be able to service it. And so. Access panels are a really good idea.
Yeah, that's why they exist.
They should exist.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, unless you put one in later in the Oceana you're doing for me, did you put one in it? Because I remember the first shot I seen, there wasn't one, and I was like,
no,
how's he going to do that?
Yeah, you've got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've got access panels on yours. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
It's two separate
I'm
ones because the switch and the knobs are kind of in their own place or whatever,
Yeah.
So there's two small, I try to keep it minimal when I have to do a back cover plate thing, but, yeah.
No, that's fine with me. I just was curious.
Yeah.
Because I'm having a brain aneurysm. It's too hot, and I'm having a brain aneurysm today.
That heat's really getting to you, man.
It is. So that's one thing we can talk about a little bit is the first time we talked, I never actually got to lay my fingers on my greasy old mitts on any of your fine instruments.
This is true.
And now I've played several. And
this is also true.
And it's a wonderful thing. And
thank you.
It was interesting because I put that first payment on the Oceana, and at the time that was the first guitar that I'd ever put any money on and never played it ever. Yep. I had never done that. But I was like, it'll be fine. Paul's going to take care of me. And then when I got to play a couple of them at NAMM, specifically the Star Blaster that was over at the Walrus booth that everyone freaked out about because it was awesome. And then the baritone that was down at the Dwarfcraft booth. Yeah. Dwarfcraft. Yeah. There we go.
I have a lot of friends who are pedal companies, and I love them. Yes.
That helps, doesn't it?
Yeah. They're the best.
And I was like, it was like after playing those things, it was like, oh, I couldn't be more excited. And
that's a nice thing to say. That's such a nice thing to say.
Yeah, and then that 7-string I picked up from you, and which thank you for that also.
You're
welcome.
The way, my pleasure.
That's become like I still don't really know my way around that that extended scale and stuff yet, but I find myself playing it a lot.
Good.
I'm like for one, it's always in tune. So that helps.
Yeah, that's nice. They're very stable necks. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for 2, I just like how it feels. As far as the fretwork was really nice, and I just know that. Well, you tell me that the Oceana I'm getting is going to be even better, and now I'm just like, I don't know how this is possible to get better.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm mostly talking about the finish, because your 7-string Paramore it's a urethane finish, which all the urethane finishes I ever did, I would paint them, and then when they left my shop, they would be flat and glossy and gorgeous. They looked like mirrors when they left my shop. But of the few that I have had a chance to see again for any reason, it's called telescoping. It's basically because wood is a natural thing and it expands and contracts with the weather. It either soaks in some moisture or it dries out. And so when that happens, it stretches the finish. And when the finish stretches over a pore in the wood, and it doesn't really matter if the pore is filled or not. Honestly, I wish I could say that like there was something you could pack into the pores. You could maybe pack like super glue or something into the pores, but that's incredibly it's just hard on your health to do that. It's just kind of it's impractical. So it doesn't really matter if the pores are filled with anything or not. The finish stretches, and then what happens is it basically sags down into the pore. So what you get is a finish that still looks glossy and pretty and beautiful, but it also if you look at it at certain angles, you can kind of see the grain lines running through it. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
And so that's what
it does.
And that's what yours had. Your 7-string Paramore. That's what yours has. And one of the reasons why I didn't sell it to you at a new guitar price. So it's kind of a used guitar price, even though nobody else had ever owned it before. But the new stuff that I'm working with, the UV Cure polyester finishes that I'm working with now, they just come out flatter and shinier in the first place, but they also stretch less. It's a harder finish. It's just far more durable. It's not hard like where it's brittle and it chips or anything like that. But yeah, it does look better. It looks just like it looks a cut above, more professional, and it doesn't feel plasticky or sticky or anything like that. I mean, I can't say enough good things about this finish that we're using. It's so good. And so that's the main thing that I'm talking about when I say that your Oceana is going to be even better than that Paramore, is because you've got a UV finish on yours.
Gotcha.
And there's a few other things. Yours has the updated logo. We waited for my gold logos to come in so that it would match your hardware and, cool stuff like that. So, yeah. Every guitar just gets better and better every year, it's all just a constant effort to improve everything we do, you know.
Oh, for sure. You live and you learn. The more you do, eventually you can't really help but get better unless you're really
absolutely.
Unless you're really dumb.
Yeah, you can rest on your laurels if you want. You can just say, "Hey, this is great. We're done. It's good." You know what I mean? But that's not the attitude around here. You know, nobody in this shop is just content with, good enough. You know what I mean? It's always just like, all right, this is pretty amazing, but how can we make it even better?
Yeah. No, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I just go, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
As evidence in the quality of my conversations. It's fine. Yeah, it'll be all right. This podcast wasn't very exciting. Whatever.
No, you do a good job, man. I always listen to your podcast.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
Just to bring it back around a little bit, there was a thing that you said about your Oceana being the first guitar that you'd ever put money down on, having never played it before.
Yeah.
And you hadn't even played one of my guitars at all, let alone, that it was just a guitar that you'd never played at all, period.
Right.
That's a thing that I kind of wanted to address with the new model a little bit, because offering something at a lower base price point kind of takes some of the risk out of it for people. And also just the fact that they can get it quicker. There's like, it's like a 2-week sort of trial period that I'll do on it. I haven't, that if people want to kind of evaluate it and see if it's for them or not, or just that they're satisfied with the workmanship,
Yeah.
And then, if not, get a refund, that kind of thing. But, I wanted to take some of the risk and some of that hesitation away, because I do find that there's people that they don't want to wait 6 to 12 months for a custom guitar, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to wait. Who's got time? You know what I mean? Like, immediate gratification is something that isn't just, you're not being selfish if you want immediate gratification. Does that make sense?
You are too. Oh, wait. I don't know. I wasn't sure where I was supposed to go with that. I just said the first thing that came into my head. Selfish. Yeah, you just wait for it.
Well, I've met a lot of people. I've been very, blessed with just have had like all these really fantastic customers that have, just been totally patient and willing to wait as long as it takes, because they know what they're going to get is going to be worth the wait. And that's great. That's super fantastic, but that's just not for everybody, Not everybody wants to wait that long. So this is kind of a new thing, because you can still get a custom guitar in the sense that you can choose the color and you can get whatever pickups you want in it. And the new model, the Little Stinker, does have a tailpiece option. So I've got these 2 custom designed tailpieces that totally out of my own head, and I'm having them cut out of stainless steel and polishing them up, and it's 2 different designs. One of them's kind of like a archtop guitar floating tailpiece, and then another one's kind of a short, more like a stop tail thing. And it's anchored, and it's got this kind of like wood riser block underneath. It's pretty cool. So there's some customizations in that sense, you know what I mean? And then you are going to have to wait, because we got to paint it for you, but it's only about a month. Right. You know what I mean? So it's kind of it's hopefully one of those things that'll be kind of a new experience for some people. I think there's probably a lot of people that have never custom ordered a guitar before. They're a little hesitant to say, hey, like, I just put money down on something that kind of doesn't exist yet,
Right.
And then to 30 days or less have this guitar show up, and it's not just the guitar that they had pictured in their head, but it's like this amazing instrument that, you know, exceeds their expectations. So, and it's the color that they want with the pickups that they want, you know? So, yeah, I hope it's kind of like a bridge, you know, like something that, sits in the market that's kind of between, off the shelf, you know, not custom order stuff, you know, production instruments where you don't get to pick the color, you just have to choose from like the colors that they already painted.
Yeah.
And you can get, but you do get that right away, which is cool. You just got it right away, and you kind of got the color you wanted, because you picked the orange one and not the purple one. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But then it's not 6 to 12 months wait. And the 6 to 12 months wait, you pay a lot more money and you wait a lot longer, but you get like exactly what you want. You know what I mean? You get it down, not just the color, but you get to choose your neck profile, and you get to choose all these hardware pieces, and, you know, you're one-on-one talking with the builder about like the specific cuts of wood and like all that really cool stuff that goes into like when you really custom order a really nice guitar. Which is a fabulous experience that I think everybody should do, but I think there's a lot of people that are hesitant to do it. And again, rightfully so. But this new model, I hope, is kind of like a bridge between those two things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and 2,500, I mean, it's not like cheap, but it's not that's not really weird. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's in the ballpark. Like, I think the last new guitar that I had a part in purchasing was like and it was on a big sale. It was like one of the Fender, what do they call that series? It's not the custom shop, but the
it's like their
the reissues,
AVRI or whatever, American Vintage.
Yeah. Yep. That's what it was, and it was on a big sale. It was a Telly, and I still want to say that it was like $1,800 or something.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't cheap, and it's a super nice guitar, but it's not what you're talking about. You know, if that makes any sense. The normal price was probably $2,200.
Yeah.
So like to make the next step up to go to 25 is not really that weird, and you're getting a whole nother level of product.
Right, you know, and it's that whole thing, like, even at $2,500, even it being the lowest price thing that I'm doing, I know that's still a lot of money for some people. I totally get it. I understand that. And it's just a matter of scale, you know. I'm not expecting to make 100 of these things every month. And if I could make 100 of these things every month, like if I was just physically able, if the infrastructure of my company was big enough to support that kind of a volume, you know, we could do it for an even lower price.
Right.
You know, it's just that simple. But, you know, the thing that people don't always understand is like a company like Taylor made really expensive guitars, and they did that for a really long time until they built up the company where they had multiple factories and, you know, just thousands and thousands of guitars out there and 100 employees. And then now they can make a GS Mini for $600. But that took them, I mean, Taylor's 30 years old or something like that. You know, I mean, they've been around. My company is, I think, going on 7 years now, 6 or 7 years. So we're still in the early stages. So we're still selling expensive guitars. And that's the way the market works, you know.
And that's what Fender did. I mean, that's what Gibson did.
Absolutely.
Back when they started, they were expensive instruments.
Yeah, you look at those old price catalogs and you see that like a Gibson Les Paul Custom was $450. And nowadays you look at that and you're like, oh, that's what? You know, that sounds crazy. But back then, $450 was the equivalent of $3,500 now. You know, if you just look at basic inflation, you know, that's just economics. So, yeah, I mean, what I'm doing now is just growing the company, and I think we will get to a point someday where we're making 50 guitars a month, and there'll be a little stinker that's even less expensive. But for now, this is what we've got. This is what we're doing. And it's still made right here in the shop. I'm still hand sanding every single neck. It's just as much like a Rhoney, just as much as one of my guitars that I'm super proud of as anything else I've ever done. And worth every penny if you ask me.
Right.
Well,
yeah, like especially if if you're comparing something like that to a, essentially a factory built guitar,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the American vintage reissues are really good,
Yeah.
but they're still like just made in a factory somewhere, like on an assembly line. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. It's a tough market, it really is. And my company is still young. We're still growing, and just trying to do the best we can to make a good product. And that's really all you can do. And you grow, and then you figure out new ways of doing things, and then you figure out like, hey, we can do this, and we can do it at a better price now too, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, and people just have to support it. They kind of just have to, buy the guitars, check them out every chance they get. We're doing our best to just sort of get these things out there where people can play them. If you have friends in the area that or know anybody in the area that has one of these guitars, go over to their house and play it. Something like that. But it's. Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yes.
It's going along.
Just trying to get more Rhonies in
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're just trying to get more Rhonies in the hands of more players, essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and because I think what's kind of key about your guitars and Doug's and anybody else is doing the level of stuff that you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is the putting your hands on it and really understanding what it's like, okay, that is why this guitar is this much money. Because check it out. Like, run your hands along that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you've never played a Gibson like that. Or, at least not a new one.
Yeah.
Sure. It just doesn't happen. Like it just doesn't happen that way anymore. If they're not, and I'm not trying to like say that those are bad instruments or anything at all. It's just a different product experience. So
that's a really good point. The just that it's different. It's not even necessarily that one is better than another. There's always gonna be people out there who are dyed in the wool Fender or Gibson guys or PRS or whatever, or some other boutique guitar brand. There's going to be people who love Cowers and don't like my guitars, or vice versa. It's just the way that it goes. Like, it's a feel thing, and like I said, it's not that one is necessarily better or worse than another. In some cases, I mean, we all know there's some sort of cheap guitars out there that aren't worth the money, and there's probably some really expensive guitars that again aren't worth the money. But generally speaking, within a certain price range, you pay for what you get, and it's in some of these cases, it's just that it's different. The neck carve on the little stinker is kind of like my signature neck carve. It's it's very there's almost no taper to it at all, so it feels kind of fat down at in the cowboy cord area of the neck, but as you go up the neck, it doesn't get bigger, so it stays kind of slim. So when it's kind of slimmer up there when you're doing your lead stuff, right? And then it's just kind of like low shoulder C shape. So it's just kind of like, that's my signature neck. That's just like the way that you can kind of expect my guitars to feel in your hand. And if you've never played on one of those necks before, you don't know if it's for you or not.
Right.
So introducing a new model at a lower price gives more people an opportunity to try that. I have because of the that these things are just they take far less time for me to manufacture. That's less of my time sunk into it, so I can kind of afford to be a little bit more lenient as far as working with artists is concerned. In the past, I've never worked with artists. I've never had like endorsement deals or anything like that where, people got hooked up with guitars and, for some kind of artist deal or whatever. I never had the room to do that. I was, inquiries like that would come in all the time, and I just had to say, sorry, no, like we just don't endorse people like that. It's just not, know. But now I'm in that position. Now with the new model, I can say, hey, like I want to get some guitars into these players' hands and get these things out there. I can afford to let a few go, at some kind of, insider endorsement deal scenario,
Right.
And people can check them out. People can go watch a band play it live, more so than ever in the past.
Yeah, you totally shouldn't have said that.
Why?
because now you got a bunch of people listen to this episode and they're gonna be like, well, I play in a band, and so I should get a deal.
That anyway. The truth, and what people need to know about that is there's a select group of artists that I've already talked to. That I'm already working with, and that's the roster for now.
There you go. Okay,
It's very, very limited. It's a very small group of artists, and I'm working with them right now. And we're going to see how it goes with the new model, with the launch, with those artists out there playing them. We're just going to see how things go for a while, see if they start selling and that kind of thing. And then we'll reevaluate, okay, like, do we have room in the budget to work with another artist or not? Or is it a thing where it's like, okay, no more endorsements. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know yet. So,
right.
But I was just gonna say, now we're not adding anybody to the, no more for now,
Right. Well, I just really appreciate, you taking me as your artist for this one. I play, like every Wednesday over at Billy's Beer Shack.
Oh yeah.
And
that's a big
my
gig,
band.
Man. That's
my
a lot of
band's
exposure there.
Oh yeah, well we're called the Waffle Stompers. We do some really mean Thin Lizzy covers.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, my aunt comes every time. She loves it.
Yeah, and she buys a lot of pedals.
Oh, she buys a lot of she doesn't. She buys them for me. For my birthday. Last year she bought me a Metal Zone, which has really improved things.
Yeah. So are you sure that if I give you a guitar, you can get like 20 of your friends to also buy one?
I don't have 20 friends.
That's the best answer ever.
I only have, I got I'm sorry. I got Jethro. He plays the drum machine.
Yeah.
In the band.
Good old Jethro.
Yeah, Jethro, he plays a drum machine. He's a pretty good friend.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of a criminal history, but he's a good dude, and he runs the drum machine. And then we got Felix. Felix, he tickles the old 4-string stuff. But last show he broke his low E, and so he's had to play everything on only 3 strings since then. And
that's a shame.
I mean,
it's a real shame.
But
you should get sponsored by a string company. You guys get an endorsement deal with a string company?
Well, we was hoping that when you sent down that little stinker that it would have some strings on it that we could just kind of use whenever we needed to. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
I don't know where I was going with this. I was trying to create this band in my head. We also we all dress the same. We have like button down bowling shirts with flames on them.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Fabulous. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Would you come? Do you think if you come up here to Portland, you might come check out one of our shows?
Yeah. I'll be there.
Yeah, look up the Waffle Stompers. We're doing big things.
Now, do you guys stomp all waffles or like exclusively blueberry or strawberry?
No, we don't discriminate in which waffles we stomp.
Okay, all right.
And it's really a reference to our boots. We call our boots waffle stompers, you know.
Chicken and waffles too?
Oh, yeah, I stomp lots of chicken and waffles. Right. Yeah.
All right. That's good.
I don't know. I think I've been following Rigs of Dad too much. You follow Rigs of Dad?
Yeah, I'm familiar. It's good stuff.
Oh, it's so funny. Everyone needs to follow Rigs of Dad I just did a really hacked up version of what they do very well.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
little plug for Rigs of Dad.
Yeah, their posts are much funnier than what I just said, but it's similar along the lines. People will get it.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Awesome.
Well, we didn't have a ton of questions, but we did get a couple questions for you. All
right.
We have just a couple minutes left.
We can lightning round them?
Yeah. I mean, really, there's only like two.
Okay.
Because I can't pull up the Facebook thing, and I'm not smart enough to write it down. That's only two that I remember.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, the first one, and I kind of already know the answer to this, but what are your favorite pickups?
Almost anything made by Roadhouse. But more specifically, he does all the Supro style stuff. So like the Vistatone, the Kingston, and the Super Alnico. Those things, they're all single coil pickups that are just stunning, amazing. They're like single coil, so they kind of retain the clarity thing. But they're not super bright, quacky single coils. Like, I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this, but I don't like Strat pickups. And so they don't sound anything like Strat pickups. It's kind of like if you like Jazzmaster pickups and stuff, it's kind of, similar in some ways, but they're always like, he has them fully covered, so they're super noise free and, or noise, way less noise anyway. They are still single coils, a little bit of noise, but very, very little compared to others. And he also just recently started making me rod magnet humbuckers, which are what you have in your 7-string. You just have the 7-string version of them.
Right.
But he's now doing 6-string versions for me too. He calls it the slug bucker. And it's just, what's the word? Devastating. That's the word for it. You know what I mean? It's like, they've got like so when I want to get my metal on it, I've got slug buckers to turn to. They're
so good, and we could riff on this for a little bit, but try to wrap up. They're so clear and so full sounding.
Yeah.
And man, I was like, I didn't know humbuckers could sound like that.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It's that whole thing. Like a lot of standard humbuckers, I'm not super crazy about because they can get a little muddy. But I always really like those Fender wide range humbuckers because they've got a little bit more clarity to them, and that's kind of why I like the Supro Vistatone style pickup. Is like that's a single coil, but it kind of veers into humbucker territory because it's not overly bright. But it's also not at all muddy. So it's like that perfect middle ground for me. And that's really what I gravitate towards. And that's really what like the slug bucker has going for it is that, it's still a humbucker, but it has so much more just depth of character and no mud and clarity. And it's just like bell piano-like tones, the highs aren't too harsh, or anything like that. I mean, I'm a big fan of like Lawler Imperials and TV Jones Powertrons and stuff like that. Actually, I really like their the Supertron. I think is the one that I like the most from them. So like, there's tons and tons of good pickups out there, but I always have to plug Ken at Roadhouse for he just makes my favorite stuff. It's
there you go.
He's kind of one-stop shopping for me for the most part. Just really, really, really good.
Well, my experiences so far have been very positive, and I got to check some of his stuff out and some of the Supro guitars at NAMM, and I am definitely on that bandwagon. So
absolutely happy to hear it.
Yes. And so the last thing we'll do, because it's the only other question I remember, and of course I would remember this.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite pizza topping? Because apparently that's what I ask builders.
That's standard question for guitar makers named Paul.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're looking at me the same way that, because you're not in the same room, but I don't know if you're looking at me the same way that he did. We're talking about Paul Reed Smith.
Yeah.
For anybody that hasn't seen that. I asked Paul Reed Smith what his favorite pizza toppings were, and I thought he thought I was insane.
That was great. I loved that you asked him that question, and it was so kind of. I kind of liked the way that I think he was sort of expecting that that was going to be an exclusively guitar and Paul Reed Smith conversation, and that's probably what his expectation was set up for. And you kind of just jumped right out there at the beginning and just busted that preconception out of his head. Just by saying, what's your favorite pizza topping? It's like, hey, man, like, we are totally happy to sit here and talk to you about guitars, but you're a human being too, like,
right.
Let's talk like people talk, you know what I mean? Like, let's have conversations other than guitars, if we want, like, feel free, like the door is wide open, man. Talk about whatever you want. We totally are. It's like, whatever, you're here. We just want to talk to you, like,
right, and then of course that segued into Mexican food, because why not?
Which is legit, right? God,
yeah, exactly.
I don't have like a really good Mexican food place anywhere near me. Well, there's one place that I haven't been to yet. I think I might check it out. But I'm kind of lack for great Mexican food right now. I need to expand my circle, or I don't know.
You're down in California. You should have unlimited quality Mexican food.
Yeah, it's just it's a part of the. I'm in Elk Grove, and it's kind of suburbia, so it's a little bit mainstream-ish on everything. A lot of strip malls. Outdoor, whatever. It's like, I like Midtown. The mom and pop stuff down in Midtown. Oh, we were talking about. Oh yeah, I wanted to thank you for the shout out on the Chasing Tone podcast, because you compared my guitars to like the kind of macaroni and cheese that you would get at a brewery.
Oh yeah.
Which is fantastic. I love that. There's this little barbecue joint down in Midtown Sacramento called Tank House, that if anybody's ever in town and they want to go to Tank House with me, I will drop anything I'm doing to go to Tank House, because they have this macaroni and cheese that has like pulled pork in it. And I mean, I don't even really eat pork otherwise, for the most part, like, besides my favorite pizza toppings, which are pepperoni, sausage, and olives. Bam.
Oh, there we go.
Just
you did sneak that in there.
Nice. But, oh, dude, the macaroni and cheese. Oh, Tank House. Oh, it's on another level. It's so stupid good.
And that's that's what your guitars were. Well, because, like, I guess people can go listen to that episode of Chasing Tone if you want. But it was, I brought up you and your guitars because we were talking about higher end guitars, and I was like, yeah, Rhoney and Brian Wampler, who does that show, if anybody doesn't know.
Yep.
He was like macaroni, and I was like, well, let me put it to you this way, Brian. This is what it's like. I was like, if a Fender, like an American Telly, is Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yep.
Paul's are like gourmet, locally made, brewery macaroni and cheese. I think I said it better on that podcast than I just did.
You were very eloquent, yes, and thank you for that. It was very kind. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had your guitars compared to food before, but I did my best.
That was great. I got the best. Oh my God. I wish I could read it, but I don't have anything in front of me that I could actually read it. But I got the best compliment about one of my guitars that I think I've ever heard. At least it's my favorite compliment. But the message just said, "I got drunk and fell asleep with my guitar, and I woke up cuddling with it." I was like, yes, achievement unlocked. That's the best thing ever. So great. That made me so happy.
They're like, who are you? Oh.
Just like, oh man, what a night. Hey, little stinker.
Hey, little stinker, how you doing? That's funny.
Oh, it was great. Made me really happy.
Well, that's probably as good of a note to wrap up on as anything.
Yeah.
Since you tried to do it in the beginning and I cut you off, why don't you shameless plug everything now?
Oh, yeah. Okay, shameless plug. RhoneyGuitars.com. It's RHONEY. I'm at Rhoney Guitars, at Paul Rhoney at Rhoney Guitars on Instagram, at Paul Rhoney on Twitter, and it's Facebook.com/Rhoney Guitars. I also host a podcast. It's called The Luthiorist. You can get it for free on iTunes.
Wait, I've been paying for it. Wait a second.
We encourage
iTunes
people
makes
to pay
me buy
for it for sure. That definitely helps keep the show going. We love our patrons, but it's a fun show. It's kind of we call it happy hour with luthiers or with guitar makers or whatever. It's really kind of a guitar making centric focused podcast. And we're always working on getting more and more guests on the show, and I keep saying this, and then it keeps kind of getting delayed. But I do have a sort of a new computer situation sorted out pretty soon here, and there's going to be a lot more guests on the show. So.
Well,
but
cool.
We've had some really cool guests already, like Aaron from Blackwater Guitars was on recently. Doug's been on the show a bunch of times. We had Meredith Coloma and Ben Steichleather, who are fantastic people that I love. And it's a fun show. People should definitely check that out. But the Little Stinker is out officially by the time this drops, I'm sure. And man, I hope everybody likes it. By all means, if anybody has any questions or comments about it, I want to hear it. Post it on Instagram or shoot me an email or call me on the dang phone. All
there
good.
You go.
Yep.
Right on. Well, thanks again, Paul. It was a good time.
Mate. Yeah, likewise.
No problem at all. Oh, every time. It's always a glorious occasion. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up then. So, for Paul, this is Blake, and as always, good luck and good tones.
Good luck and good tones.
Alrighty, folks, that does it for this week. As always, I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. That is really what it's all about. If nobody listened, then I guess there would be really no reason to do this. So, thank you very much. And if you've listened this far, I'm assuming you are a guitar player, gearhead type person, and you very likely know other guitar player, gearhead type people. And what would be great, what would be so fantastic, is if you would just take your phone out right now, and as long as it's safe, don't go careening off the road on my account. Get to a safe place, and then pull your phone out, and send those buddies a text message and say, hey, check out the Tone Mob podcast. And at the very least, they will be forced to sit through this super annoying message where I ask you guys to text your random friends about a podcast where a guy who supposedly likes guitar gear talks about pizza. So, yeah, we can play the ultimate prank. And after you're done with that, I would like you to just take a load off, pat yourself on the back, and have yourself the most epic week ever. One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help
everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.